I was 10 years old when I became convinced the man next door was a murderer. His name was Mr. Harlan, and he lived alone in the smallest, shabbiest house on our street. His yard was full of car parts from the rusty blue Buick he was eternally fixing up. All the adults in our neighborhood liked him. They said he was polite, helpful, and a good guy. The kind of person you could go to for a cup of sugar, or if your house was burning down. My mum had nothing but good things to say about him, and my dad often invited him to barbecue in the summer. But despite everything, I knew something was wrong with Mr. Harlan. It was the way he stood too still when he waved at people, the way his smile never quite reached his eyes, especially when he looked at neighborhood kids playing in the street. It was the way he smoked too. It was the 80s, so the fact he smoked like a chimney wasn't unusual in itself. My dad had little grooves in the side of his fingers, where a cigarette would slot right in, right up until the day he died. But Mr. Harlan would stand at the edge of his yard late at night to smoke his, unmoving for so long he could have been a statue. I would look out after I was supposed to be in bed to see if he was there. If not for the cherry at the end of the cigarette, he would have been invisible in the gloom. I thought he was watching my house, but my parents told me not to make up nasty things about such a nice man who didn't want his furniture to smell of smoke. I started to believe that Mr. Harlan was responsible for every bad thing that happened in our neighborhood. When Mrs. Tulsey's cat went missing, I knew Mr. Harlan had taken her. I saw him digging in his backyard late that night, working in the glow of a flashlight with a cigarette clamped between his teeth. When there were rumors of kids selling drugs in the area, the baseball bat he kept in his porch disappeared, and I saw it fall into the garbage truck when they emptied his cans later that week. It was snapped and covered in brown grunge that could have been coffee grounds, but I thought it was dried blood. Later, he burned something in the rusty barrel out back that left a bitter, unnatural smell hanging in the air, like rotten meat tossed on a grill. I kept a notebook, filling it with everything suspicious that I saw. He only took the trash out after midnight when nobody would see. The Honda Civic he had that actually ran always seemed to disappear for hours on the same night someone was reported missing from a nearby town. I told my parents everything, but they just smiled the way parents do when they think their child's imagination has gotten the better of them, and told me I wasn't allowed to watch the HBO's Saturday night movie anymore. Over time, my suspicions got too much for them, and they made me stop watching him. They took my notebook away and sat me down to give me a talking to. They told me Mr. Harlan was a harmless, sad old man who had lived alone ever since his daughter had died, and his wife left him after their grief drove a wedge into their marriage. They said I was old enough to know about this stuff now, especially if it would make me leave him alone. He had fallen into such a deep depression that he had almost lost his house and his job too. That was why everyone was so nice to him. The 1-2 punch of losing both central relationships in his life and the spiral that had followed reminded them all to value the people they loved and hold them closer. I didn't know any of that before my parents told me, and suddenly, a lot of his suspicious behavior became refracted in my memory through the prism of, yeah, that guy is definitely mentally unwell. Eventually, my fear faded into the background, like a half-remembered nightmare. I went to high school, and the trials and tribulations of puberty drowned out everything else. Add to that being a closeted queer kid, while the news was dominated by the AIDS crisis, and I definitely had other stuff to think about more than the strange, sad old guy who lived down the street. We moved when I was 16, and life carried me away. New school turned into college, which turned into coming out, and then moving in with the love of my life, who then cheated and proved he wasn't, which gave way to years of focusing on my career, and finally meeting my now husband. The slow weight of ordinary years pressed my childhood memories and fears flat, until they hardly existed at all. It wasn't until decades later, after Mr. Harlan had died, that I saw his name again. It was in an article about a series of vigilante murders, all of men who had raped or assaulted women but walked free, spared by technicalities and the failures of the justice system. Someone had hunted those men down afterwards and made them disappear. Sometimes they were strangled, sometimes stabbed or shot. Sometimes they were still in the state, sometimes they were found in another. There was no pattern to link the killings, not even a single fingerprint. Some of them had committed their crimes years ago, some were fairly recent. It was only those two things that tied them together: their escape from criminal justice and their hometown. It took years for anyone to link everything together. Yet with the onset and wider use of DNA testing, a few stray hairs led straight to Mr. Harlan. By then he was already in hospital, dying of an inoperable tumor in his brain and completely unrepentant. In fact, he called a reporter himself and offered an interview that became the article I later read. His daughter had killed herself when she was 16. I never knew that part of the story when my parents told me that she had died. They'd kept some things from my younger years. Mr. Harlan did not hold anything back from the reporters. His daughter had been raped by a boy from her school. The boy's family had money. They hired a lawyer who knew exactly how to twist the system until the case collapsed and the boy walked away without a single consequence. He went back to school and made his victim's life miserable, taunting her about how he was invincible, and even the judge obviously agreed she was nothing but a slut who had asked for it. His friends took up the baton and tortured her until finally, her father found her hanging in her room. Mr. Harlan had started killing not long after his daughter's funeral. He didn't go after his daughter's rapists at first. I guess he thought it would be too obvious and lead the police straight back to him. He made hunting freed predators his crusade and bided his time, honing his skills on lesser prey, waiting for the right moment to strike at the one he really wanted. He spent decades living in that crumbling house, raking leaves, trimming hedges, waving at the neighbors, and hunting predators in the dark. He kept his neighborhood, and the kids in it, safe from those who would harm them. He wasn't after the innocent. He was after the ones who had already gotten away with something. The ones everyone else had already decided didn't matter. I think about him a lot now, about how certain I was that he was a monster. And he was. Just not the kind I imagined. I don't know how to feel about him. I remember him as the figure, smoking in the dark, face carved from stone, cigarette cherry glowing red in the cold air. At the time, I thought I was seeing evil. I didn't know he was watching out for kids, just like me. I still have the notebook I kept about him. It's in a box in my attic, pages yellowed and childish handwriting blurred at the edges. Every time I open it, I feel 10 years old again, peeking through the blinds, heart pounding in my throat. I don't know what scares me more, the fact that I was right about him, or the fact that part of me understands why he did it, and I can't find it in me to condemn him for all the blood on his hands.